Hello, hello. Let's do. I'm going to commentate this Sniper Medic Rosmontis run that I did. So, here we go. I start out with Indigo Rosmontis Gummy. So, the one that might stand out here is Indigo over Amiya. The reason for this is because Amiya is available on 3 different vouchers, whereas Indigo is only available on 1. And since Indigo is someone who we want to draft, it makes more sense to draft Indigo early, since it makes no difference in our win rate, whether we have Indigo or Mia. So we immediately start by picking the bottom path because it has the most possible chances to go into a combat with a plan. Meanwhile, we are just going to AFK with Rosmontis to completion because this map is very easy. So something of note is that for Sniper Medic, we will usually only do 2 combats on floor 1. And this is somewhat important, mainly because to do our third combat, we would need to spend free plans in order to traverse vertically. Now the thing is, Sniper Medic is not a comp that requires a lot of hope. It's a very low hope required comp, because outside of Rosmontis, the main operators you want are Calcit, Grey Altar, and Cruise Altar, of which 2 of those are 5 stars. So most of your power is in the 5 stars that you're going to recruit, and so it doesn't actually matter that whether you have enough hope for a 6 star or not, for the most part. Because of that, entering floor 1 shop, it's totally fine to have only leveled up once, compared to, for example, Guard Vanguard, which really wants to get Opianus from the first shop, so they have to do 3 combats, or try to. So we get a machine here, which is very good. So here's another interesting thing. So I take Pure Strength here instead of Amiya, and the reason for that is because we want to make sure that we have enough hope for Surfer and for all Sniper vouchers that we need. And since Amiya is available on a lot more vouchers, we're willing to delay Amiya more. So here, another interesting thing is that we took Safety Inspection over the Emergency, and that's because the Emergency did not have a plan. A plan is worth more than a relic, especially early on. So that's why we're going to a relic that we can't choose, for that matter. Which is why we're going to take Safety Inspection over the Emergency. So from the 4-1 shop, we are ideally looking for a Sniper voucher, which has roughly an 85% chance of spawning, and as many Sniper vouchers as possible, because we do need to E2 Grey and E2 Cruise Altar, and ideally we don't want to waste our free promotions on them, since they cost so little hope. And then we also really want our agent, Surfer. And we want to make sure that we always have hope for Surfer, because not having Surfer, especially for the shop rob on floor 4, is very problematic. As such, we prioritize getting Surfer at basically all costs. Alright, so this map is reaching completion. Continuing on with... another thing about why we don't do free combats is because we actually have a higher total plan requirement than a lot of other common comps. So the free meta comps right now are So Escort with Yaddle, Guard Vanguard with Silver Ash start, and then Sniper Medic with Rosmontis start. Of these comps, So Escort and Guard Vanguard do not have a hand, but Rosmontis start does. It has a Flinger hand, which is both its biggest advantage and its biggest disadvantage, because it means that we need to enter more Wish Fulfilled than the other comps, which is a big problem. As such, we want to have our plans available for refreshing to Wish Fulfilled. So you can see that we've been fairly lucky. We got two Sniper vouchers already, and we're about to get our third here. So here, this is a very, very strong refresh. Mr. Boom is excellent for the 4-4 shop rob, and King's Legacy is one of our Wish Fulfilled nodes. So we basically just saved a node here. So we're going to pick up, and we're going to E2 Cruise Altar. You can notice that we did Cruise Altar E1, then we did Grey Altar E1, and now we're going to promote Cruise Altar. And this is because we have free promotion options available on, for example, the floor 2 Scout or Witchcraft, and so we want to have that available. Alright, all of these is a little annoying, but this was a very strong shop, so we can't complain at all. So we can see that there's a lost and found here, which is interesting. So normally we like to take our lost and found on floor 3, and this is because floor 3 lost and found is guaranteed. Now the thing is though, floor 2 lost and found is pretty good too, because it means that you can start stacking up on ingots faster. The downside is you also lose a lot of hope, right? But this is where Sniper Medic has a bit of an advantage. Because of our low total hope requirements, we can just take the lost and found. Of course, we do want to level up we do want to get some EXP, so we're going to take the Decision Seminar into the lost and found here to get our combat level up and some more EXP before we cut our EXP gain in half. If we had not had a lost and found there, if it was, for example, a planned combat instead, we might have refreshed the encounter into a Wish Fulfilled and then taken the Hand of Rumble instead. Ideally on floor 2 we want to get Hand of Rumble, but in a situation like this, we're basically saving nodes by taking the lost and found here, so it's pretty optimal to do it. Alright, so you can see that we're dropping stuff so you can move in, and we're going to go to the Surgeon Seminar. Oddities. Oddities in general is probably the most annoying floor 2 buff for floor 2 epoch for Sniper Medic. And that's mainly because there's a few stages like Dense Jungle where you are getting you're going to get HP checked. Well, you're going to get damage checked a little. For example, if a spike spawns, and with Amiya at E1 and without too many enemies in range, Amiya's going to struggle to kill an Oddity spike. Catastrophes, on the other hand, is basically catastrophes with none of the upside, which is what makes it annoying. And also, sometimes Rosmontis will struggle to kill an emergency dense struggle flower, even after you bait them, which is very annoying. So you can see here that we used Amiya, and we just activated skill 1 when 3 enemies were in range. Aside from that, this stage is very simple. If we didn't have Amiya, we would just stall the last enemy on this stage. Yeah, you can see that Oddities made it so that Amiya didn't kill. This Rosmontis placement just depends on where the spike spawns. If the spike had spawned to the diagonal upwards left of the pillar, then we would place Rosmontis 2 tiles down instead. We just need to make sure that Rosmontis does not have a pillar in her range. So yeah, you can see that we used Cruise Altar to spawn a pillar to stall that guy. And now we can see that we have 19 out of 21, so we're going to have an animal. And as such, we're going to prepare a little. So we can go through the possibilities. So if it's bear, well, we have a bunch of pillars prepared so that there's no way the bear can get through all of them before Rosmontis gets him. The duck is covered by Mr. Boom and the fact that we can spawn pillars. The dog is covered by the fact that we can spawn pillars, and now we have Mr. Boom. And Fatty is covered by the fact that we have almost everyone undeployed, so we can just flip his direction if we want to. So, having made sure of that, we then release that enemy and we kill it. Alright, and it turns out to be Duck. Yeah, so now that I see that stuff, I'm just going to place down Cruise Altar to charge up her skill. And let's hit it to make this move a little faster. Activate Cruise Altar skill, activate Rosmontis, pillar Duck once, get some chip in with Amiya. And that stage done. Yeah, so the standard procedure for a 2-4-5 run is to do the Lost and Found on floor 3, then do Shop Problem floor 4, and then do Face Off on floor 5. Here we are just changing up the order, changing up the rotation slightly by getting the Lost and Found on floor 2. Also, this was a very strong combat. We got Cursed Toil from it, which is strong, for basically saving us a bunch of toil space. And then we also got our Vanguard voucher, which means that we are now set Vanguard-wise. Ideally we would E2 Surfer, but we don't need to for a long time. Anyways, Exhaust Defense is also a fairly easy stage for Rosmontis. So, we don't need to place down Surfer, but might as well get some free DP while we can, right? So, we're just going to sit here and wait. And now, when that Lancer starts moving down, we can use Rosmontis, deploy the pillar on top of them, and now Rosmontis will just handle all of the bottom. So here we're just going to use Gummy to block off those guys on the top and use Amiya to try and kill the spike. But since it is oddities, Amiya will not kill it in time. As such, we will need to use other operators to kill it. Oh, something of note here is that there are multiple spike variations on this map, right? So there's one that can spawn there, but there's also one that can spawn right on top of where Rosmontis is right now, I think. And if that happens, you just change your Rosmontis placement so that she is still going to be able to hold the bottom, but is not in range of the spike. Alright, let's take a look at what we got from this one. So, another thing that I should probably talk about is what I'm thinking about when I do this run, right? So aside from our drafting, we're also focused on how we're going to get certain inspirers. The inspirers that we're always looking out for are Machine, the components for Rise and Fall, and Window. Those are the big ones. Alright, so this is Emergency Cast Falls of Oddities, mildly annoying because of it. So Rosmontis can definitely just handle it by herself if you put her on S1 and, well, not by herself, but with her, with a standard comp. But I'm going to show a different way of doing it with this run, which is to use Amiya, because it makes it a lot more stable. Yeah, so we're going to use Guard Amiya to basically hold most of the lane, to hold the lane for most of the run, most of the fight. Yeah, so you can see here that I'm thinking about whether I want to burn and inspire on this fight, but I think I ended up deciding that I didn't need to. However, bringing a medic is never a bad call. Alright, so as falls. A lot of people have some trouble with this map, and I can't blame them. That being said though, it's not too bad once you get used to it. The main thing is just to focus. The main thing is just to focus on holding the enemies and then just not hitting right, not hitting left side. So here we're gonna generate some DP with Surfer. Completely unnecessary, but might as well. All right. And then we place down Amiya. I think I decided to face her down left, bottom. Alright, nice. And now we're just going to sit here. So the annoying thing about using Rosmontis on this map is that those free drills that will eventually come will basically blow up Rosmontis if you don't kill 2 of them, or at least 1 of them. Yeah. And so you have to figure out some way to deal with it, either by using Mr. Boom or deploying a sniper or a caster. Also, sometimes this infiltrator can spawn, which is also very annoying. So we're just going to Mr. Boom it here, and then we're going to later on deal with it. So the drill pops the infiltrator, and then we're just going to use Amiya to destroy the after image, and that way he can be blocked. And now we're just going to sit here. And I see that Gummi's getting a bit low, so I'm just going to heal him. Yeah, so that's that dealt with. Now we're just going to wait for the animal, because once again another animal spawned. We've been fairly lucky with animals. And it is this time the dog. So the dog is one of the easier ones to deal with for the most part, because usually you can just deploy Rosmontis. You can have Rosmontis deployed, and then the moment he reveals himself, you just deploy a sniper or a caster in range, and it will spawn a pillar on top of him, and he'll be stunned. But here we're going to have to do something slightly different, but it's one of my more favorite things to do with Mr. Boom. So we wait for it to see that red glow, and then we deploy an operator to block and stun, and that's how we do it. Alright, it's an emergency, so surely the rewards must be good, right? Alright, let's see. Ooh, Elder's Crown, Hand of Mystery. Yeah, not especially useful. But here we have 3 hope, and so we already have our Surfer. So we don't have to worry about having 3 hope available for Surfer anymore. So now we need to start thinking about our other drafts. So right now we have basically all our main operators except for Calcit. But the thing is, on our next level up, we'll have enough hope for Calcit regardless. So we might as well take Silence here for the safety, and also because Silence in a pinch can work as our Quilon healer. Alright. Yeah, might as well make some shield. We want to create some shield so that we can tank the Amiya blob if we end up taking ending vibe. So here's an interesting choice. In most cases, you would take the lucky coin. However, in this case I took the silver forks. And the reason for this is because in my run, I do not have much damage right now. Normally I'd pick up Hand of Rumble, but I do not have Hand of Rumble. So I needed the damage to stay alive. So I got Elisa's Ravings here, which is very annoying, but we'll discuss that later. First, we should talk about that route. Since we had Lost and Found, since we already took the Lost and Found, we were free to route into the possibility node. And we also got the ED5 encounter here, which is fairly lucky to get it on the first try. King of Sarkaz though, that can be mildly problematic. And Crystal Mystery, that is very problematic, because it means that we cannot deploy our agents with proper, they can't DP gen properly. But the first node is a face-off, which is pretty nice, because it means that we're getting 1 plan for miss. So, on floor free, there's 2 types of face-offs that can spawn. It can be eye for an eye, or it can be narrow path. Eye for an eye will only give 1 voucher choice, but narrow path gives 2. So, we like it the fact that we got narrow path, is what I'm basically saying. Now, that being said, our squad, or rather our relics right now are pretty weak. So we're going to have to be careful about which face-off node we take. Another thing of note is that usually you'll prefer to take the middle option, and that is because the middle option's pool of relics, while less strong than the hard mode ones, are on average more useful. Because the hard mode ones give you a lot of stuff like hand relics or class-specific relics, which are not as useful for us as compared to a tier 2 one, like for example Lake Badagus. That is another thing that we should probably talk about. Aside from our standard lamp relics, we also want to focus on particular our max HP relics. Max HP is a big deal because it means that we are able to place down our operators without them getting one shot in, for example, ED5, and living one hit from the NVs is a big deal in ED4. So anyways, I decided that we could easily handle this fight with what we have right now, even without our Hand of Rumble. So let's just place down Rosmontis and get going. Yep. This Croc has the minorly annoying property of when it's blocked, it can't take damage from anything other than what it's blocked by. So normally, if we didn't have Mr. Boom, we would just wait until we have our SP and we would just click skills and hope that it stuns long enough to not get harassed. But since we have Mr. Boom, it's completely safe. Alright, let's see what comes from this face-off. Holy City's Embrace. That's a pretty good relic, although it's less useful now compared to before because ending 5 isn't quite so favored for it. Amiya does not care. So here we have Apoco Gaps. Normally this would be a very good thing, right? Apoco Gaps is it gives 5 plans, which is the most out of any map. However, we have a few problems. Mainly that our damage, we have Hand of Rumble now, but we don't have a lot of the other relics that we normally have for floor 4. And the other thing is we have Crystal Mystery, which means we can't generate DP. Well, we can, but it would be very cumbersome, which is a huge problem for this map, especially with the Mia Blob harassing us. So now we have to think. And also we have King of Sarkaz, right? The entire map is filled with Sarkaz, so they're going to chip down the pillars even harder than usual. So we have to look at this and we have to decide, can we take this map? And the answer is yes, we are going to take that map because you'd be crazy to not try to go for it, right? It's Apoco Gaps. 5 plans. So while this is going on, let's talk about Ulysses' Ravens. So I would say this is probably the second worst cursed relic you can get. It is very, very annoying, mainly because it means that your operators that rely on their skills basically don't get their skills as they would normally do. And this matters a lot on, for example, Kylon's map 2 burst, because normally you would just place down your operators and burst them down, but because of Ulysses' Ravens, you will instead just be sitting there until the NVs spawn, and then you're just going to be very mad. So here we can see that we placed down Rosmontis to block the first guys while destroying that pillar. Rosmontis is going to be distracted by the 3 pillars that she's in range of, and so we're going to place down Grey Altar now, who will help with one of the pillars, and also place down a new pillar to bait with. Yeah, so you can see that because the map is relatively hard, we're going to pause a lot more often. to focus on to assess what's going on. So from the bottom, there's not much of a threat. So we're going to place down Surfer here to hopefully be able to generate DP later. Next up, we'll place down Silence to tank the Mia blob. So there's actually two variants of this map, and I got the easier one, thankfully. The other variant has the crate spawn from the middle, the crate spawn on the top, and the middle crate not spawn. And so the starting enemy ships will rush you. And if that was going to happen, I was planning on just leaking them, because I don't think I could not generate enough DP to actually contest them. At most, I could probably Mr. Boom them to maybe save the run, maybe save them. But also, I just had the life points to leak it, so I wasn't too concerned about that. So we see that this guy was going to leak, so we placed down a pillar to stun him. Normally these guys pretty much just one-tap Gummy, but because of the Frozen Mystery, she lived a bit longer. The one-time Frozen Mystery ended up coming in clutch. So here I'm waiting until the Tyrant enters Amiya's skill range before I activate the skill. For the most part, this map is done. We just need to focus on killing this last wave of Tyrants, which is a bit of a DPS check, since we can't really afford to block them. Yep, and that is a Pothole Gap stun, and this gave us 5 plans. That's insane. Alright, Lost is an okay Inspirer to get because it has a different pool from the standard one, so it has a higher chance of giving us Window, which is nice. Alright, so here's our first specialist to get. We pick up Gravel here because Gravel is kind of important for both ending 2, ending 5, and also for tanking Amiya shots. Amiya blob shots, I should say. Alright. So here, we don't actually have anything important to promote, and moreover, we're way over our total limit, right? So we're going to refresh because we're not afraid of any emergency either. And we're just going to go. We really want to get our King's Relics going. So here we can see that I stopped because of the Bank of Gold check. As I mentioned earlier, Ulysses' Ravings is very annoying, and so having Bank of Gold check counteracts it to some extent, right? And so that's why I decided to pick it up there, especially after we got that many plans. So the next map is Simulated Skirmish, and this map is not hard, but it's also the one that you're going to spend a long time on a lot of the time. Mainly because all your operators are ranged for the most part, and because of that, we end up having to stall there for a long time while one of our Uber melee operators chips away at the spike, which is slow and tedious. Thankfully, we have Amiya this time, which means that we can just use Amiya to break the spike relatively quickly. Alright, let's go. Okay, so this map, aside from the fact that we're going to take 30 minutes, is usually pretty easy. And that's mainly because Rosmontis basically solos this. Alright, so the slug is in range, we place down Rosmontis, and then we place down Booster to spawn a pillar there, and that's it. The map is basically done. Yeah, so the Mew blob took quite a bit of a beating from our Apocalypse gaps. And it's a bit unfortunate because normally I like to farm it for a few more relics, but it's not that big of a deal, right? In the end, it is the Mew blob is still harassing you a lot, and so it's better for you, especially on some floor 4 emergencies. The Mew blob can be the major difference maker in whether you live or die, so it's not too bad of a thing to kill it here. So we want to kill that slug because we want to start that guy. Start the Sarkaz cart. So yeah, bye bye. That Sarkaz cart is what we will normally stall for the spike for. You can see it takes forever to kill it. If it's only it left on the field, then it will normally take about 6 minutes to kill one pillar. So plenty of time for us to deal with the rest of the map and also stall. Especially since we can just repeatedly resummon the pillar for him. Yep, so you can do it all again now. Okay, and now let's just get the pillar. Let's get the spike. Yeah, Amiya doing our standard is very nice for this. And fun fact about this, the worst simulated skirmish experience was when I only had gravel as a way to kill the spike. And so gravel does 6 damage per hit, twice per attack. And so I ended up needing to sit there for 30 minutes while gravel just slowly chipped away at it. Excellent experience. 0 out of 10. Don't recommend it. All right, so that's that dealt with. And now we will just kill this cart and we'll deal with the animal. Here's another one spawned. All right, let's see what I got. A duck again. Very easy. The not smart from this was kind of a big deal. And it basically solves a lot of the hope curve issues that we might have. We pick up a cow here, and now we have a special suppressor. Now, objectively speaking, special suppressor is a negative relic. It heals us a lot. It heals us 4 life points, and that's basically turning off Arcane's relics, right? Now, the reason why I'm hesitating here is twofold. First is the special suppressor is worth points. It's worth 7.5 points in the final score total, which, kind of makes it tempting. And the other thing is that if I don't take it here, there's a chance it will reappear, right? And so if I can tactically choose to take it here, then I basically eliminate the chance of it ever reappearing, which is strong. Alright, so we're going to just make some shield here. And so I decide that I can definitely do it, right? Because I have these 2 steps remaining in floor 3, and then I can step into floor 4. The first combat's not going to be that hard. And in the fourth node, I'll be at 1 life point again, so I'll be pretty safe. So that's why I decided to do it like that. That's why I decided to take the relic there. So right now our position is pretty good. We have our King's Lance, we have our Hand of Rumble, and we even cheated the Wishful Field system a little by also getting Buckler from the floor 1 shop. Our plan situation is also really strong since we have 7 going into going into the floor 3 boss. Yeah, switch Mia back to medic. There's no reason to keep her in guard if we don't need to keep her in there. Medic is better in general. So now, because we've been basically just planning for the floor 4 shop rod right now, and now we have to take a look at our operators. So in terms of what we are missing, we basically just need our E2 Calcit, and we will be fine for a shop rob, because we have Mr. Boom, we have our King's Lance, we have some attack for our operators, and we have our Hand of Rumble. So we are good to enter the shop rob and rob the moment we E2 Calcit, which is a very high chance of happening, because the shop is rigged to give you class vouchers. So here we're going to just break that spike. We could use a Mia for this instead, and that's totally fine as well. It doesn't really make a difference at the end of the day. The important thing is just to get Rosmontis down so that she's able to charge up her skill. So this is a stage where Rosmontis skill free actually ends up being pretty strong. Is it? Mainly because you want to kill both of the bosses at once ideally. So yeah, Rosmontis, high DPS, has a higher DPS so skill free, and it's just it's two enemies at once, so there's no reason not to use it. We're just baiting every single sniper guy with gravel. If you really wanted to, you could use a pillar instead to bait it, but it's kind of annoying because then you have to retreat it for the boss. Anyways, you click skill free and the boss is just kind of vaporized. Very nice. Oh no, aside from our focus on getting to shop rob, we also want to hit 38 ingots as soon as possible, because that way we can get our chalice with our shop rob in mind. Shop rob gives 112, we need 38 ingots. Otherwise, because we need 150 ingots total to guarantee chalice from the visual field. Alright, and here... Oh, this is an interesting one. So the 4-leaf clover fossil is a pretty strong relic. Me personally, I think it's a solid A tier at the very least. The main thing is, though, the Avenger is an insane damage relic, because it provides a multiplicative boost to your damage. So here I have to think about whether I want insane damage or if I want to just have a higher quality collectibles on average later. So here, these encounters are not useful, right? So we might as well just refresh them into a wishful field. First one, whiffs. Turns into a lost and found, that's fine. Yeah, so the shop is there, and so we just have to plan our route a little. We can see that Middle seems to be pretty ideal. Whiffs turns into a safe house. Yeah, so 2 whiffs in a row is a little unlucky, but it's not too bad of a situation right now. Alright, let's go for the third refresh. Whiffs again. Yeah, that's the lamp experience. Yeah. Not much to say there. Oh, but we get our plants back, so I guess we only wasted a node. It wasn't actually a waste of plants. So here, Crimson Quarter, low value node, might as well refresh, and this time we get the Wish Fulfilled. And nice, we get our King's Crown. And now that we have King's Crown, King's Legacy, and King's Lands, we have 3 King's pieces, and so we have basically our max damage. So anyways, now we're just, since we have almost all our lamp relics except for Chalice and Coin Operator Toy, we're now focused on just winning, basically. So here I'm preparing for Aqua Pits. Aqua Pits is not a hard map per se, but it is a map where you end up, if you're not careful, you can get trolled. And yeah, around now is when I started getting complacent, because I mean I'm very strong right now. Although being strong doesn't actually matter for this map that much, because it is in the end a map where you, for the most part, don't out DPS it, you just kind of let the jetpack guys fly to their own doom. Alright. Also, you can see that the Mia Blob is now very weak, so realistically, it's probably not surviving this round. In Aqua Pits, the Mia Blob takes forever to get to where it's supposed to, get to the blue box, and so it's just going to die. So here, I might have retreated Surfer a little early, TD. So now I'm focused on pillar spawning on that guy. But you see here, I made a mistake. So I forgot how the spawn targeting works for pillars here. And so I ended up accidentally pillaring this guy instead of the jetpack guy. And so now I have to solve this problem. Yeah, so this resolved the issue, but it was also a sloppy mistake, so you should be careful not to be like me. Alright, but now there will surely be no more mistakes in the future, right? Yeah, so that's what we normally want to do. We spawn those 2 pillars there, and then jetpack guys will just fall into the hole by themselves. And so this map is basically done. Something of note for this map is that there is a chance for a rare variant where the top guys turn into hovercraft instead. So this map has a high potential payoff of a lot of ingots, which is very nice. It's not something that happens often, but when it happens, you basically get your 38 ingots, right? So you always want to play to maximize your odds in every scenario. So here's our second specialist voucher, and we pick up our E1 even. So here, there's no reason to do frequent disputes because past an emergency is right there for us, and that's a lot of points and a free relic. But after I got spooked a little by the upper place where I blundered, I'm going to focus up a little. Especially since this time I'm going to be playing with while I'm not fractured, while I'm fractured, which means I have plus 3 DP. So the only difference between Aqua Pit's regular emergency enemy-wise is those two Sarkaz mace runners at the top, and you have to deal with them somehow. And normally the way I deal with them is by deploying Gray there. Deploying Gray on top of them. Come on, bait. Alright, let's go. Yeah, we deploy it on top of them, and that way the Gray will finish off the spike and also finish off the maze guy. Is that what they're called? Pathfinders? I don't know. And I might as well pick up that chest, but this map is basically done again. So let's talk about the shop rob. So we have an obscene amount of power, right? Because we have 3 King's pieces, we don't actually need to do the weak shop rob method, and so instead we're going to do the brute force, because I like to not use my brain if I don't have to. My brain is a limited resource, and if I think too much, I become dumb. Alright, and another animal spawns. Yeah, this run is very animal happy, I guess. Thank you for your donation. Alright, what did I get? Shrivel and Sprout, okay. So Shrivel and Sprout is a relic that is often overrated by people. In reality, it is not a particularly good lingerer, mainly because you don't actually want to be carrying around too much Sprouts, because it means that you can't carry around your other inspirers and thoughts that actually matter, like your plans, window, rise and fall, right? So that's what happens. So often, a Sprout is just treated as a 2-star lingerer, and then you just use it immediately. In this case, however, I have the relic that gives me more foil limit as I fight. So which is why I'm able to kind of abuse it a little this time. So Emergency Chaos, kind of a infamous stage, although with our power level it's not hard at all. So this stage, the main thing is just making sure to abuse Cal, basically. Abuse the fact that Cal has a fast redeploy free block body, and never deploy monster in Cal's range. Cal is actually, despite her reputation, is actually a very strong medic. Especially now with her IS module. The thing is though, her targeting is problematic, right? Because the moment, if she's chipped at all, she will heal herself. But with the IS module, it's no longer a problem because she will heal herself and one other target. Now, if you place monster in range, it means that she will just heal her and monster forever. But if you place monster outside of her range, it means that she'll heal herself and someone else. And since her heal per second is actually pretty good, it's yeah, she's a pretty strong medic. You just have to be aware of how her charging works, I guess. So yeah, we're gonna place down Rosmontis. And we can see that Cal is in fact healing these guys. And this is our standard position for how we do Emergency Chaos. The only thing of note is that if you have the Amiya Blob still, you want to face Rosmontis down, because that way she doesn't get distracted hitting the Amiya Blob, which is very, very annoying. Alright, so the guy comes in, we use gravel to block it to reveal, and we immediately retreat afterwards. That's pretty much this entire map. You will just repeatedly block these guys to reveal them and then retreat. One of the more fun interactions here is with the relic that gives you 1 SP every time you are hit or you get damaged out to you. Because that lets you supercharge your skills really quickly. Especially Gummy, who can just spam her heals forever. It's pretty funny. If my damage was lacking in this run, what I would do is I would place Gummy to the right of where Grey Altar is, and then I'll place Cruise Altar into the tile that is the range tile that is to the right down of the blue box. Oh, so you can see there that I had to block free operators, so I placed Monster. Yeah, I'm missing Gummy, so I might as well just block with someone. I'm missing Gravel, so I might as well block with someone else. So here we can see that another bunch of free came, so we might as well just block them here. The reason why we blocked here in particular is to keep the Dreadcat's explosion outside of Rosmontis range. Because otherwise, the healing check gets even higher, and that's really annoying. But yeah, that's Emergency Chaos. Normally, I'm not comfortable taking that map unless I have at least 2 out of the Frank King's relics. Oh, so here's another negative relic. Halo is kind of annoying. Mainly because it means that you cannot block one of Phoresis' balls on ending 2, which is obviously going to be very annoying. Yeah. So here we have arrived at the Shop Rod. This is where runs go to die, and hopes and dreams. So you can see that we're currently at 31 ingots, right? And we want to hit 38, and so we have to think a little. So first of all, I mentioned earlier on that HP relics are a huge priority. So aside from surviving one-shots from enemies, it's also really important because it lets us put down our agents and let to in ending 5. Because normally you want to place down your agents first, right? But if you do that, then the agent will have to tank both the ball hitting them and also Amiya hitting them. And normally, to survive that, you would need plus 130% max HP per Surfer, or something around those lines. Now, right now, I have 0 max HP. The only max HP I'm probably going to have right now is Rise and Fall, so that's 50%. We're missing another whole 80%, right? And that's a problem. And so I take that the Judgment Vanguard relic, because any max HP for our Vanguard is worth it. Here we see a Blunt Claws advancement, which is a big deal, because it means that now we know for sure that our Vanguards will survive if we place them down in ending 5. But now we are also down to 22 ingots, which is a problem. So I think we're going to go on a bit of a selling spree. Alright, what else am I going to sell? Alright, that's all the inspires we can sell. Yeah, and then I'm going to withdraw to make sure that I have enough ingots for chalice. Or at least until I have enough ingots for chalice later on. So I withdrew until 32. I should probably make it clear what my withdrawal rules are. So I operate under the assumption that I have a roughly 100 balance, but the lower the better. Because oftentimes in team tournaments for IS5, you will have a shared pool of balance, right? For example, the current GMC rules, the shared balance of the pool is 200, well, among 3 people. So you can imagine that if you really need it, you can just withdraw 200 balance, but you're better off not doing that because then your teammates will beat you. So anyways, now we're just looking, and I think this is roughly where we would shop rob, right? We have 32 ingots. That means we only need 6 more from other sources before we have enough for our chalice. And 6 more in a floor, I think that's pretty safe too. That's a safe gamble to take. Alright, let's shop rob. So yeah, this is going to be the Ungabugga method of shop robbing, because we do not need to use our brain for this. Yeah, so we still immediately place down Surfer. Then we place down Crewster, and we stun them. Yeah, our Crew's ultra damage is pretty high. Now we can place down our operators to just spawn camp everything that comes out of the box. Once again, I should make it clear though that this does not usually happen. Usually you have to do the weak raw method, but this time we got lucky damage-wise. Yeah, and you can see that Arknight basically just melts. Generate some more DP, place down our operators, and then just go to bed. So the cards are coming in on the top, so we activate Crew's Ultra skill. Well, since we ended up getting Arknights Mark, we have way more hope than we usually do. And because of that, we can get away with drafting some operators that normally we would consider luxury, like Horderer. So we're probably going to revise our drafting plans to include him in the plan. So here we have a supported voucher, which means you can pick up Shamari. Shamari is a big good operator, mainly because in the Quilon burst, she is good for both reducing Quilon and the Envy's attacks, and also for debuffing her to defense. So yeah, she serves double duty and is quite strong. We also get Civilite Eterna here, which is a very strong relic for us, because we both have Calcit, and it also serves to do a lot of damage of Chalice to the Chalices in Kylan's fight. Yeah, we have an infinite hope now, so we might as well just eat 2 Gummy. Here I was being a bit conservative, but I should have picked April instead of May here. Alright. That's a shock drop, and we're now missing 6 ingots. So here, this is an interesting one. We actually really like that squad size there. But on the other hand, we're actually short on plans now. Since we still need to grab our Chalice later, we want to be careful not to waste the plans. And so I instead decided to not take it. Alright. Let's start combining. We have components for 2 Rise and Falls, which is perfect. We want 2 Rise and Falls for Amiya and for Kylan. We tend to prioritize 2-star Linger combines, because that way, because the 2-star pool has Lakebed Aegis, which is a huge HP buff. Here we got the squad size relic though, which is very nice, from the 3-star combines. So here we have to decide. The face-off is on the bottom, which we need to path to in order to do ending 4. There's also a 50% chance that it can spawn in the boss key, right? But that's way too low of a chance normally to gamble on, especially on a run like this, which has been pretty strong. So we know that we want to path to the face-off, so we didn't have to decide how are we going to path to it. Well, we have the ending 5 of Relic Inspirer, so we might just want to go into that encounter, right? But on the other hand, there is that 4-6 encounter, so it's not too unreasonable to wait until 4-6 to try to get it. Of course, that raises the risk significantly of not getting ending 5, and so when you have leeway like this, it's best just to go into the encounter. But you can see me hesitating a bit. Having coin operated toy and your 4K and your King's relics and your and the Rumble, most maps are not going to be a threat. The main one I would say is a concern is the emergency versions of regular army and Blind Guardians, since those can still pose problems if you're not careful. Especially since Blind Guardians can have a variant which can just mess with you. So anyways, let's see what I do. Alright, so I go regular army. Makes a lot of sense. I want to get that encounter, even if it means wasting free plans. Regular army has a bit of a evil reputation, and I won't say it's not undeserved, although I think the regular variant at least is fairly reasonable to do, even without any Chalice or coin operated toy. It's only the emergency one that has such absurd stats. Another thing that is happening now is that I'm thinking about the fact that I'm missing the Window Inspirer still. That is a cause for concern for 2 reasons, right? The first is that we're missing max HP relics in the first place, so we're missing a lot of max HP. And the second is that we can have a very bad epoch spawn on one of the bosses, and then we'll have to cry if we have to happen. Both of which are very undesirable things to happen. So, which is why we prioritize the window epoch so heavily. Unfortunately, there's not much we can do about it, aside from just pray that we get it from the combat. So here we have Cruise Altar open up the left side for us, and now we can place down our agent to generate DB. Alright. Rosmontis down. So here, the drone targets Surfer. Now, and then we place down Amiya. We need to then bait to make sure that Amiya does not die from the next hit by the UFO, because she is currently revealed. So I'm looking at the HP of Surfer right now to see if I can get away with leaving her on the field. And it turns out, yeah, she will just barely live. So I'm going to cheat up the DP a bit more. Place down Gravel to bait the next hit. Nice. And I'm going to place down a Mr. Boom just to keep that guy in place. I probably didn't need to do that, but it's just to be safe. Alright, and that's the middle cleared. After the opener, the stage becomes a lot more simple, because we just have to focus on dealing with the bosses then. So we have a W first, and we're going to just place down our 2 Flingers and go to town. Alright, so here I want to generate some DP, I place down Surfer, and she gets blown up immediately. Yeah, that'll happen. Rosmontis didn't stun for some reason. She just decided not to, I guess. So here the UFOs come, but Cruise Altar is ready for them, so we're not worried. So these Death Veil Assassins are kind of annoying. They're probably... The thing about regular army though, is that because of these assassins, you either leak them or you have Innis, or you just sacrifice a lot of resources to reveal them in order to kill them. Thankfully, we have a lot of leeway on this map because of how much power we have, and so we can just kill them outright. Gravestones. Skull Shatter is kind of annoying, but we're just gonna kill it like that. Now I'll kill this Death Veil Assassin. And that's the map done. Another Lost Inspire, but surely this one will give us Window. Alright, there's no reason for us not to E2 Gravel here. Catastrophes, that's pretty cool. Alright, encounter. And we get a new flag, that's very nice. Alright, so here we have to decide, do we want to trade away Ulysses Ravings or do we want to go into Safe House? Safe House gives us a chance to promote an operator or to get 2 squad size, all of which are pretty good things, right? So here though, we got the squad size relic earlier, so there's not too much reason for us to still have it, right? We might as well just greed for more plans. Now, Ryan Guardians, we ended up rolling this thing. With this, normally with just the relics that we have, like the base snap relics for 3 Kings, Hand of Rumble, and Coin Operator Toy, we would be a little scared. But because we have so much damage, we're not actually too worried about the default version of Emergency Ryan Guardians. What we are really worried about, though, is the variant, which has a 5% chance of happening, where instead of the robot guys spawning Dreadcaz, he will instead spawn a Gundam, which a rocket Gundam, who will then shoot all of our operators and immediately wipe us. And so we have to think about this a little. We do not have a max HP to survive a Gundam with what we have right now. If I burn a Rise and Fall, I can survive it, but then I'm down a Rise and Fall for the bosses, which is a huge problem. So I decide I'm just going to run the risk of the 5%. Because I still need the window very badly, so I don't want to not take the combat. But I also don't want to burn a Rise and Fall, because that'll drastically lower my chances of surviving the endings. Anyways, so we play the stage, and we are immediately greeted by the fact that these are not the robot guys, are the Dreadcast type, not the Gundam type. Which, you know, sigh of relief there. This map, after you clear out the start by using a Mia to clear out those guys and then opening up Rosmontis, is not that bad. You pretty much just, have your Flingers deal with most of the map, and have Calcit deal with the right side. So yeah, let's place down Calcit. Yeah, I like to use Calcit for the right because those guys are pretty tanky, so it's nice to use true damage to deal with them. Yeah, there's a lot of waiting in this map. Quick skill. And that is Emergency Blind Guardian's done. Just pray not to get the 5% variant. Alright, window. No window. Yeah, that's a bit annoying. At this point, we have to start accepting the fact that we probably don't have window, and we're just going to have to truck forward with that in mind. So here, I had a choice between E2 Shamari or Hodorer E1, and I decided to pick Hodorer because he's pretty good. So here we see that we have a bunch of plans, so we might as well just pick up more squad size. Alright. Here's our face-off that we sacrificed that amazing top half to. Normally with Free Kings plus a Cruister plus a Indigo will be pretty fine to do it. You might need a bit more base attack. So on this run, she was definitely going to do it with how much damage we have. Alright, immediately placed on Cruister, then immediately placed on Indigo. I ideally like to have my Indigo E2'd, but it ended up not mattering that much for this one. And I didn't have much of an opportunity to do it either. Okay, let's see the voucher from this one. Supporter voucher or Vanguard voucher? Well, we still need to E2 Surfer because if we don't, her max HP is significantly lower. So that's why we did that there. So here, normally, if I didn't have Cursed War Chronicles, I would just burn my Shrivel and Sprout. There's no reason to keep them around. It's only because of Shrivel and Sprout being the thing that I'm going to be saving them. Because of Cursed War Chronicles. Alright, so, ending 2. Congestion variant. So I don't have any deployment limit relics, so I'm going to be stuck with free deployment limit, which is quite annoying. Thankfully, I do have Coin Operator Toy, and I have Civilite Eterna, so my damage for Pheresis Burst is actually very good. The problem is getting to the Pheresis Burst, because you have to deal with the rest of the map first. On top of that, we also want to use our Witchcraft here and send out one of our operators, right? So here, we have to choose between Aya or Horderer. Now, if I don't have E2 Aya by the end of by Quilon, it's a huge problem. So, the choice becomes obvious, right? I can live without Horderer, but I definitely cannot live without Aya. So I'm going to send out Aya. Aside from that, since this is for Pheresis, we switch Amiya to her caster variant, which is a higher total damage on her true damage skill, and also is reusable. So Pheresis, another thing about this fight though, is that because we have the minus 30% Sarcasm relic, minus 30% movement speed Sarcasm relic, we end up having to intentionally eat a few balls because we have no way of blocking them, which is moderately annoying. Alright, Gravel, eat the first ball. Thank you. We placed down Ethan there to stall Pheresis for longer. Yeah, so this third ball is the one that you can't really do anything about. You just have to, because he does it right over there, right? You can't block that. Or if you can, and I haven't found a setup for it yet. Either way, very annoying, but you can't do much about it, so you just eat it. The reason for us to stall with Ethan instead of, for example, blocking him is because this setup is more resistant to epochs. For example, in the blocking setup, we would have to use more operators, right? And so it's worse for congestion. And also it's weak to King of Sarkaz, because your blocking operator needs to have enough HP to survive. All in all, it's usually better to try to stall with Even and just block ship them up repeatedly like this until all the slugs start spawning. So, which is why I'm going to just do this. Unfortunately, Ethan isn't consistent. consistent enough to find, unless you have attack speed with Coin Operator Toy or Chalice, and ideally both. Which is another reason why we prioritize Chalice so much. It makes this fight way easier. Yeah, we're just repeatedly block shifting him up, because that way Ethan can keep him bound for longer. Here we got killed a little, because the guy moved down too much. Ethan is being annoying with his binding today. Yeah, so I realized that Cruise Altar is probably unnecessary, especially since we have so little deployment limit, so we're not deploying anyone where her shooting would matter. So yeah, we like to use Grey Altar to hold off these slugs until this wave of slugs is done. Alright, Ethan, dodge. I command you. Nice. It wouldn't have been the end of the world if he hadn't dodged though. You could, I could simply just block with a Cowset monster. But it just makes it way nicer to not have to deal with Releases while we deal with these slugs. Another thing of moderate concern while I was doing this one is that Gray's damage without Chalice is a bit lacking, right? So I was trying to figure out what I needed to deploy Rosmontis or not. Considering that Gray is fighting a losing battle here, I think I decided to place Rosmontis down. Of course, this then means that I need to retreat Ethan, because otherwise I can't block the ball. With both Rosmontis and Grey Altar down, it's not nearly as much of a problem, since they can just easily handle all the mobs that come. Oopsie though, I forgot to deploy Gravel. Hehe. Alright, Ethan is back online, so we can deploy Ethan to stall. So now we're just going to do this portal and then spend out the overhook. So here we see that the thing is almost dead, and we immediately place down Aya. But unfortunately, while we're doing that, we forget to place down Gravel again, and so Parisa explodes. Very huge problem, because this means that a bolt will spawn. And this bolt will unfortunately path over almost every tile almost every important tile, right? So I'm kind of annoyed with myself for making that mistake, but it's not unrecoverable, as we will soon see. Yeah, so here, I don't want to place Gravel inside the Devourers, obviously, because then she gets eaten and she's not blocking the ball. So I try to go for placing it like that, but I should have placed it on the right instead. I was just not paying attention to which way Parasis was facing. Alright, so even gonna get eaten by the bolt if I don't do something. So I'm just going to retreat him. And we can use a monster to block the guy for a bit. Now, I mismanaged the shades on the right side while I was focused on that, and so Grey dies here. It is not a big deal though, because we're just going to treat everything anyways. Yeah, but we missed the ball again. So yeah, we're just going to place down Horderer, the savior of mistakes and making bad plays. And now we just wait. Now we're just going to prepare for the phase 2 burst, which should be a very fast affair because we can just use Calcit with Sibling Eterna to go. Alright. Put it down. Nice. Recess is down. And now we place down Cal and Monster. And we place down Emil. And that is going to be the stage done, I think. That does a lot of damage. And we can just finish off the Devourers that remained. Overall, I think that Court Visit is not especially hard, but it is quite skill. There's quite a bit of skill expression in it. And moreover, because of where it's situated, right? Because it's not the hardest boss stage, you tend to be the most conservative with using resources on it, which is why I think it becomes an interesting stage. Because you don't want to burn a Rise and Fall or a window on this thing. You want to save them for Amiya and Carlin. Anyways, no window again. Yeah, so we're just gonna have to step one accepting our no window. And since that is the case, we have to then start thinking about our alternative strats. For example, what happens if we get Suffering? Epoch. With our current situation, a Surfing's Epoch would be very, very bad. And if we think about it, we don't actually have much time to play, so we're going to look for that in our relics. And we can see, well, nothing that would actually help Suffering's Epoch, although all of these relics are quite strong. Or rather, White Dance Shoes is very strong, and Chalice is very strong. So I think I'm going to take all three. Okay, yeah, we do. Now, let's see what the encounter gives us. A free promotion, that's not bad. Photo Retreat U2 is very strong for Kylon and Amiya. Now, unfortunately, I have Congestion still. And Congestion for Heavenly Paradise is a bit troublesome, mainly because we actually like placing down our operators, and only having free deployment limit is very annoying. Flingers have an innately good matchup against Heavenly Paradise since they hit so many times in a row. Even then, you do want more operators, for example, because Flingers are fairly squishy as well, and so if they get hit a single time, you just die. So we immediately start out, place down Surfer, Degenerate DP. And we pink. So Rosmontis there is the standard position, and I think it's a pretty good one. It's not one that really needs to change, even with White Dance Shoes. Now the thing is, I only have one deployment limit left after placing down Grey and Rosmontis. So I end up hesitating for too long about placing down my operators, and so Rosmontis gets goomed before Monster comes out. Normally we use Monster to bait the hits so that Rosmontis never gets hit, but unfortunately, yeah, me just sitting there instead of deciding ended up costing me quite a bit. And thankfully it didn't end up costing me the run though. Given no real choice, we only have Krooster as a real DPS now, so we had to place her down on the right side. Normally I would commit Krooster to the left side of Grey Altar, but I don't even have the deployment limit to deploy them both, so it's not much of a problem that I'm using her here, I think. Alright, well, we need to deal with these guys on the left, otherwise they're just going to keep on harassing Grey. You can see that there's a bunch of guys headed towards the blue box that I just decided not to contest because I can't really commit other things. I might have been able to use gravel there, I guess, but I just was focused on surviving the stage. So I ended up leaking 8 there, which is kind of annoying. It does also mean that I straight up cannot leak anymore. Well, I can leak 1. Gray, on the other hand, is kind of struggling over on the left side, so we need to send them support. Unfortunately, that means that we have to retreat Cal. So I guess we were going to place on Ethan here. Otherwise, Gray Ultra is just not going to be able to keep up. Rosmontis, on the other hand, is doing a pretty good job of stunning them in place, which is nice to see. Yeah, so I recognize here that if I don't stun this guy here, what's going to happen is that Rosmontis won't get her skill back in time, and then she will get hit by the guy. So instead I'm going to stun them in place of Mr. Boom, and then activate her skill once it's up. So that's the right side dealt with, thankfully. And now we just have to deal with the left side. Ethan was kind of the secret MVP of this map, having bound basically everything in place on the left side, while Gray slowly chips away at them. And that was the congestion in EM Heavenly Paradise. Alright. Okay, so we already have a Vanguard. There's no point in taking a Defender, so we might as well take April. Alright. Onwards to Kylon. So at this point, we have no max HP, so we're really praying for max HP, and yeah, I guess that's max HP. Between those two, there was no real major difference, but deployment limit's slightly better than something that will absolutely never come up, right? So might as well. Alright, give me Aegis. No Aegis. Aegis. No Aegis still. Alright, yeah, so we're just gonna go into it with no real max HP relics still. Which is unfortunate, but with our damage, we also can play around not being able to take many hits. So Hodor goes to S1 because we're going to use him to basically face tank Coilon. this fight in general, I would not say is super hard, usually. The main thing is that you have to... There's a few stat checks you need to hit, right? And then after you hit those stat checks, it becomes not that bad. So here I decided to take Gummy over Amiya, even though Amiya is good for damage, mainly because we do not want to bring Silence in. So I didn't want to bring Silence in over Gummy, because Gummy can serve double duty of both healing one of the Lotus and also taking hits from the NDs instead of Grey Altar. We're back. So, a final check over the relics before we enter the boss stage. Cruise Altar is our main burst for Kylon, along with Hotaru. Shamari will keep them both alive, is the thought process. Usually, with even 50% HP and Shamari E2, she can live ND hit if we place the doll correctly. Our Shamari is not E2 though, which is going to be a bit problematic. Either way, let's get to it. We place down Surfer to generate DB, immediately place down our operators. By placing down Surfer in that specific position, we're able to manipulate the pillar so that it spawns to the left of Surfer. And by doing that, the pillar is in a better position for tanking the NDs. Because the first wave of NDs actually does not happen the same way as the other ones. And so they'll hit Grey Altar if you're not careful. The NDs later will always path down first, so they'll hit the pillar first. The nice thing about White Dance Shoes is that it makes April a lot stronger, because she can just abuse the fact that she can be deployed anywhere to spawn a pillar anywhere. So here we can see that Civilized Eterna is really broken on Kylon, because it lets you just straight up destroy chalices immediately, because they are taking true damage. Alright. Let's go. Burst down Kylon. Ethan, find him. And that's first phase. So we place down Shamar there, and she immediately gets double lightninged and dies. So I could have saved her by activating A skill, but I didn't, so that's a blunder by me. Yeah. We wanted to place down Shamari there so that she could charge up her skill and have a doll ready for phase 2. Unfortunately, that did not happen. That's not going to happen on this round of Bolt at least. We also don't want to send out Aya here, so we're just going to retreat her. Yeah, another double lightning happened and struck Rosmontis. Not very cool. We ideally like to keep Kylon in that position because it lets Rosmontis' AoE hit bird thing that causes that camouflages other enemies the moment it comes out, which is very nice. Alright, well, we have White Dance Shoes, so surely this time Shamara will not get exploded by lightning, right? Anyways, we're gonna send out Holder or we're gonna send out Surfer. There we go. Shamari is sent on the boat, and she has her double charge, which is what we wanted. Unfortunately, it did cost, she's gonna cost extra because I let her die once though, which is kind of annoying. So here we can see that these guys are coming in, so I want to use Grey Ultra's skill to make sure that they stay in place while the Chalice dies. I also activate Rosmontis skill once the other mobs come into Krylon's range. Alright. Final round. We've basically sent everyone we want onto the boats already, except for Aya, who is the last one on. Alright. Now, you can use Gummy to heal that spot that Kalsa can't reach, which is very convenient, and Gummy will also serve double D of serving as bait for the envies. Now, onto the right side. Since it's a bit of a race, since once the Lotus give damage reduction to Krylon, so we want to burst him down as fast as possible before all the Lotus come out. So we're just going to use Monster plus Rosmontis to kill him really quickly. Yeah, there we go. And now on towards to map 2. Okay, so we have Yalisa's Ravings, so we need to place down Aya early so that she can get her skill up in time. And then we place down Cruise Altar, and we place down Shamari. Yeah. Yalisa's Ravings causes significant problems here, right? Because it means that Aya and Cruise Altar don't get their skill up where they normally would. Roughly around now is when they would have it, but they don't because of Ravings. Either way, we activate Cruise Altar, and we prepare for the burst. Notice how Aya is just barely shy of being able to activate her skill, and because of that, Cruise Altar dies, which is very troll. Normally, with Shamari's E2 doll, she would live, but we also don't have Shamari E2, which ended up being why Cruise Altar dies in one shot there. Overall, it ends up being fine because Holderer is very jacked. He exists for these sorts of situations where something goes wrong. And that's Krylon basically done. We will leave these two mobs because we don't have much way of dealing with them. But otherwise, this was a fairly okay Krylon fight, especially for how little HP we had. Alright, but now we have to go into Amiya. Now Amiya is usually not a bad fight, especially if you have max HP. But with our current max HP, our operator is actually very squishy. Thankfully, we got a bunch of max HP for Surfer, so she's going to be fine to be placed down, usually. Anyways, let's see what we get. Oh, Dreambind Castle model, pretty good. Now, E2 our April lets us redeploy her a bit faster, and we get Congestion again. Now, thankfully this time we have a deployment limit relic, right? So it's not nearly as bad. 5 deployment limit is almost 6. It's only a bit off. So we do have to strategize a bit, but I think it's very doable. If we had been stuck with 3 deployment limit, I think this run might have been over. But this is also a good demonstration of why Window Inspirer is so important. Without Window Inspirer, you are left at the whims of RNG for what epoch you're going to get, and whether you get an epoch or not in the first place. We do a final check over of the relics. We have ridiculous damage, but not any max HP. A large saving grace in the relic-wise is that we have Civilized Eterna, which is also very good on Amiya. Because of our ridiculous defenses, usually we would need Shamare to pierce through them with to do damage with Rosmontis and other Flingers. But because we have Horderer, Amiya, and Calcit, we don't actually need to do that. And I will later on show a specific Cal setup which lets us get away with not needing to survive Amiya's blast. So anyways, we immediately start out by placing down Gravel to redirect the ball. And then we place down Surfer to generate DP, like that. Now, then we place down Rosmontis and Grey Altar to summon pillars on top of the casters. And this serves the dual purpose of stunning the casters and also taking the aggro off of Surfer, which is very nice. Normally, if we had Shamari, this is where we would charge her, but because we didn't bring Shamari this time, we instead are going to just immediately place down Amiya. From here, map 1 is mostly fun. We just keep on bouncing the ball away from the Patriots pillar, and we just wait. Yeah, and White Banshee is coming, showing its usefulness by summoning one right there for as free bait. Serving as bait for the Bindcasters as well. Normally, the Bindcasters cycle well with Gravel's deployments, so that she can also serve as bait if needed. We might be able to see it here. So you can see that the pillars are all gone, but we have the Bindcasters that still have their binding ability. So instead, we're going to... Are we? Let's see. Okay, yes we are. Yeah, so we place down Gravel, we wait for them to raise their staff, and we immediately retreat. And by doing that, the Bindcasters will waste their binding spell. Alright, now's the time to release Patriot, because everything else is basically out. And we need to get to the stuff behind it, behind Patriot. Just keep on spawning pillars to keep our operators safe. If we let pillars die, then if too many enemies pile up on one operator, they'll just immediately collapse, which is suboptimal. Yeah, if we wait for the casters to raise their walls again, and then we retreat Gravel, then we bounce the ball to get the stuff behind it. There we go. Okay, so we want to bind Patriot in place so that we don't kill him by accident. Here you can see what happens if we don't have a pillar out, right? Amiya got piled on and so she died. Fortunately, it wasn't much of a problem because we still have Calcit available. But that's why we have to summon out those pillars. The Grudge Bearer's max target count is 2, which is why I placed down 2 things to bait it. Yep, and now we're just going to burst Patriot and the remaining bomb down, and we're going to retreat. There we go. That is map 1 done. Now onwards to map 2. On map 2, I immediately placed down Aya, and I placed down Amiya next. I don't usually have Amiya out, so I decide, against what I usually do, to deploy Surfer like that to generate TP. Unfortunately, that was completely useless and just inted me, because it both did not deploy on top. Surfer was not in range of Amiya, and also it made it so that the balls on the middle rows ended up not bouncing in sync, which is actually important for the strategy that we do. So it just ended up giving us a little, but it was recoverable. In general, it's hard to, especially over the course of a 2.5 hour run, it is hard to maintain focus for the entire thing. And so you're bound to make mistakes, and a lot of the skill in IS-5 is reacting to bad RNG or mistakes and recovering from it. Yeah, and a lot of the skill that comes into IS is reacting to the RNG that you get and mistakes that you might make and recovering from them. At least that's my personal take. I think a lot of IS is just about fighting off tilt. Or maybe I'm just easily tilted, I don't know. So you can see that this position is not quite what I normally like. Normally I like to place Hoarder where the pillar is, but because of how the enemies ended up being positioned, I didn't have much of a choice. Either way, this position ended up being fine as well, mainly because Hoarder was kind of a champ. Yeah, place down a pro to get a bit more, get a pillar to bait. Ideally you want 2 baits that are not Rosmontis to occupy the World Curse's target count, otherwise you get trolled a little if the World Curses pile up on Rosmontis, which is not cool. We also release Pheresis a little early. Normally I prefer to release Pheresis when a top pillar is, there's 2 top pillars left instead of 3. So I released him a cycle early, which, it didn't end up mattering, but it's just a little sketchy. You can see that I'm forced to retreat Rosmontis because otherwise Rosmontis would kill Pheresis. So I'm trying to make these balls bounce faster. And you can see that Hoarder kind of just solos the middle. He just defeats all the World Curses by himself, which is pretty cool. Alright, Hodor's finishing off the last guy. And once that guy is gone, we'll just kill Pharesis or Mia, and we'll phase them out. Here we go. If I wanted to, I could have delayed my Amiya skill activation longer to have all my operators back in time. Back. But it doesn't really matter because I'm not deploying them until way later. In fact, I think I actively chose not to deploy my Hodorer. Hodorer on map 3 is also a huge cheese. You can just use Hodorer, place him on top of Amiya, and then the map is basically done. But I'm going to showcase a different strategy this time. I'm going to showcase how you clear this map with Calcit as your DPS for Amiya. Okay, so that one spawns Logos' mom, and what we're trying to do is we're just trying to mutely kill her. She's kind of annoying, especially because of the giant spike that she spawns, so we're just going to deal with that now. On the top, there's a bunch of Sarkaz Bind Casters and Amiya blobs. And we don't like that, so we're just going to bait them with pillars or stun them. Or outright kill them over. Our goal in right now is basically to deal with all the other enemies on the stage so that they don't harass us. And then we will burst down Amiya using a very specific setup. Alright, what does the Gacha next produce next? It's an Amiya blob. Alright, so now we have that the top is Logos' mom is dealt with, and so now we just have to deal with the top. Now the top is kind of annoying, mainly, especially with the ball formation that we have, because it means that none of our range tiles actually reach the top. So we just have to wait. But I'm just going to start popping these guys a little earlier. That way we can see what's going on and potentially figure out a plan to deal with it. Alright, the other balls have spawned, and now we can start getting to work. So a minor blunder here happened. Because of how I positioned Amiya, one of the Sarkaz casters was out of range of the pillar, and so it targeted Grey anyways, and so Grey died. Alright. I think I decided I was tired of the top, so I just decided to launch Hodorer at them. Once again, I should reiterate that Hodorer pretty much solos this thing if you wanted him to. Alright, and now only Amiya is left. So at this point, we are waiting for Amia to start using her tile band skill, and we can know that she's going to use it by hearing the sound. So we're just going to wait for that to happen, and then once it does, we can then phase her, and that will reset her SP. So now, we retreat. He uses tile band skill, and so we kill. Now, she immediately does her nuke attack, and she does one every single time she eats a ball. And so our strategy is to basically bait all of the balls that she eats, and yeah. And then we place down Kalsa right at the exit, and we kill her. Nice and easy. Just like that. So yeah, we're gonna bait another explosion. I think Gravel lives this one. Yeah, she did. And so I decide, might as well let her eat another one. Yep, that's another one. And you can see that she's entering the blue box. And she's also, she doesn't have any more of her nukes stored up. And so, what we're going to do now is just deploy Cow and kill. So we place down Monster, and that's basically the stage done. We have as much time as we want, but Cow is just going to kill Amia like this now. And that is 245. Overall, 245 D18 is fairly challenging. It definitely has a lot of skill expression. There's very little room for error, so you have to think about your routing and the moves you make. But I think anyone with enough practice can become consistent at it. I hope you enjoyed listening. And if you are interested in learning more about IS, join IS Central. That's that.